Okay, golfers, and Jake, today we're looking at the back foot or the trail foot and how it can help us or really hurt us in golf. I think that if it doesn't move the right way, especially in the backswing, Jake, it can cause tremendous flaws, swaying, slicing on the way down. We've really got to keep that back foot in the right position. So can you run us through what it feels like at the start of your swing and as you start turning into your back leg a little bit?
Of course I can. So the first thing is I'm gonna have about 50% of my weight on each foot. And in my back leg, I want 50% of my weight kind of in the toe and the heel. So the weight should be centered maybe a little bit on the inside edge of the foot and under the laces. Then as I start to turn my chest and I load into my back leg, I can feel the resistance happening in my thigh and the inside of that foot, and the weight moves a little more into the heel. So when I hold it in this position, it feels like I'm pressing down into the ground a little bit with this whole side of my foot. And that keeps the pressure weight on the inside edge of the foot.
Yeah, I like that. So it's super important to keep the weight on the inside of the foot, but at the same time, we've got to allow those hips to turn so the weight kind of flows into the inside of the heel. What we see so often is the weight floats to the outside of the foot. We call that a sway. And, you know, you can kind of see Jake's exaggerating there, but when we're videotaping, if those toes come up and that shoe bows out at all, we know the person hasn't wound to the inside of that leg, right? So
absolutely, and that can happen for a lot of reasons, but we want to keep the weight on the inside so that we can then move forward from there.
Yeah, you're pushing off to post up and get onto that front foot. We'll show you the way the foot works in a bit, but I mean, it's so important and it's so common that we have these little teaching aids that we can slide under your foot. That's like a tilted pitcher's mound or rubber that you can put your foot against to keep the weight on the inside of the leg. I even like this, Jake. You can take an alignment stick and just put it underneath the outside of your foot, just to remind you to keep the weight as you load up and wind up on the inside of the foot.
Yes, if this is something you struggle with, it's a great and simple way to feel what it's like when it's done properly so you can replicate that in your actual
really important, even in front of a mirror in slow motion. Okay, how do we start forward? So the weight's on the inside of the heel. How do we move out of that?
Yeah, so let's assume we've done this properly. Our weight's on the inside of the foot. The next thing is I'm going to shift my weight onto my front leg using my lower body. That can be the feeling of rolling my feet, my knees, my hips forward, and that rotates the foot in a little bit as I begin to pressure into my front foot.
I love that. Go ahead and do that, and I want to show the way the foot leans in, and by the time you get down coming into impact, the heel's actually closer to the target than the toes are. It's literally a drag-in move, and then we rotate and complete it. You can only do that, though, if you're on the inside of that foot at the top of your backswing and you move into the heel properly. You know, you can call the top of the backswing, Jake, a second setup. We need to get the weight in the right spot so then we can move from the ground up into the golf ball. Super important.
Absolutely, and your foot staying in the right position at the top of your backswing, as you said, and then moving down properly is such an important part of using the ground, which develops power. It allows us to have a proper kinetic sequence in the downswing. It really is more important than people think it is. That's why it's so, you know, an interesting thing to do for yourself. Look what your foot is doing and use that to understand your footwork.
I love it. Last little tip. Sometimes it's a nice idea. We'll give people to kick the knee in a little bit. You've seen players like Gary Player and Vijay Singh do that over the years, that little trigger move to kick in the knee. That sometimes prevents you from swaying or sagging out to the back leg and swaying. So that's another thing you can try. Try the alignment stick. Try kicking the knee in. Keep that foot in the right spot, the weight on the inside of it. You'll play better golf.